He said, goddamn. He said, all right. I said, let's do a podcast. Let's sit down. Let's get a coffee. Let's just talk about 1, 2, 3, 4. Coffee with the Sam. Got a little podcast. Grab yourself a little coffee and a podcast.
What's up, guys? And welcome. You're laughing at the video.
Mate,
Could you see the video or
I
not?
can see just in the corner of my eye, yeah.
Because I was going to say, it's better when people can't see the video and they're like, where do I know that voice from?
Yeah.
So that was one of my friends. When I first ever started the podcast, that
Yeah.
recording actually was sent through a phone recording.
Oh, jeez.
He was, he's like a performer, lives in like one of these ones that lives in like a warehouse in London.
Yeah.
Like circus performer, travels.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, do you reckon you and your mates could get together and just make me some sort of intro? And he just sat in a coffee shop. That's why right at the beginning, there's a door like squeak that goes like in the bell.
Now I'll always hear that.
Because he's sat in a coffee shop, and I'm like, it sounds so real. And then the video I found of Mathew McConaughey, he's sat in a coffee shop, and I was like, that's perfect.
Love it, mate.
I knew you'd laugh though.
Yeah, you said before you're going to laugh at this. Like, I don't know about that, but yeah, I did.
And then the gyrating hips on the last bit of the video. Well, what's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Coffee with Sam podcast. As you can see, this beautiful deep voice next to me. I'm joined by Matt HOBBS, cousin of The Rock. From Shaw and Hobbs.
That's the one.
when I first asked that, yeah, thank you for coming to the studio.
No worries at all, mate. Pleasure.
I'm excited to learn about Matt's story. Now, I didn't have an intro for Matt because, you know, guys, I don't like to do intros. We're going to find out about who he is while he's sat right next to him here. And we were just outside in the house and he kept trying to speak. And I was like, stop speaking. That's good for the podcast. Stop speaking. That's good for the podcast. But I just thought with yourself, everything we're going to talk about is so end of the spectrum from what you did to now what you're doing and why you're doing it. An intro would just ruin it, and that'd be you in the intro, and people wouldn't get the real side of what you do and why you do it. So first, we're going to kick off this podcast. I know you're drinking water because you've got a gig tomorrow, so you're looking after those vocals. Guys, this dude has got the deepest incredible voice ever, so he's looking after his vocals. But how would you normally take your coffee?
Black.
Just
Yeah, it's a strong black.
As Jack, my co-host from the Wobbly Coffee, he would say, because he's hard as nails.
Yeah.
Black's as hard as nails.
Yeah. Does that make I'm hard as nails?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I'll let Jack know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't like any of these spang dangles?
No, mate. No.
Unicorn
I didn't drink
teas.
hot drinks for until I was 30, and then we did 2 shows in a row, and my mate was like, you're gonna have to have some kind of energy here. He was on the ship, so he had that horrible coffee, like disgusting instant coffee. I just necked it every time.
Burnt every day.
Oh, horrible, mate. To burn coffee, and necked it, and I was like, oh, this is horrible. Got home, and they said, I'll try an actual nice coffee. So yeah, this'll do. I'll have this. So yeah, never milk, no syrups or anything like that. Just hard as nails, mate.
Yeah, I used to have it like that when I was into like fitness and no calories and all that stuff.
What do you mean used to be?
Yeah, I got a pot belly now, bro. I'm into this performing side of things now, and being on the road all the time.
Yeah,
McDonald's every day, twice a day. But yeah, so now we know you're hard as nails.
of course.
Let's rewind it. I've never even asked how old you are, but you never asked a woman their age, so I'm never going to ask a man their age. You know what I mean? But
yeah, respect it.
rewind it all the way back. Who and where was 10, 15-year-old Matt going?
Oh, goodness. Well, at that point, I didn't want to be a performer. I didn't even know I wanted to be a performer. So I was 16, so I'm 32 now. So I was 15, 16 doing GCSEs. I did do music GCSE and performing GCSE, but I actually wanted to be a copper. That was kind of my...
Hard as nails.
Oh, I told you, mate, I'm hard as nails.
It's the
I've
coffee.
always been hard as nails. No, geeky, long-haired, big fringe, emo cut. Mathew was not hard as nails, I'll tell you that for free. But no, I wanted to be a copper. I did a bit of straight acting at school, but I didn't want to sing, didn't want to dance, didn't want to hear anything of it. I think I did my first little production. Maybe I was just turning 17 or end of 16. We did Anything Goes, and I sung very badly. I was terrible. But no, that was kind of me at that age. I was very different. I was a sports, football, copper, and that was it.
So then at what point did you go from that career in being wanting to be law enforcement, not really fussed about performing? Did you still like musicals though, or singers or anything like that? No, it's not a fan
I
at all.
was into, well, interesting, Metallica, Slipknot, heaviest band you could ever imagine. That was my kind of jam.
I really hope we don't just end up in 10 minutes time you go, I did performing just to make some money and don't really enjoy it.
Can you imagine? No, I hate it the whole time.
I go, cool, that's the end of the episode, see you later.
What point? I mean, I enjoyed the straight acting stuff, and then I took the A levels. So I took theatre studies, music, and performing arts for A level. So obviously I did like it enough at that point, but singing and dancing weren't even on the horizon. I didn't think I was anywhere near good enough at singing, and I never danced before. So I liked the straight acting stuff because you could just get so deep into it, and like I won't get too deep too quickly, but I had quite a lot of pent up emotion at that age. So I didn't realise how therapeutic it was mentally for me just to like go for it. Like we used to do really deep Brechtian stuff. Like there was a character who had to play called Gregor Samson. I think it's called Metamorphosis, I think the play was called. He just had to shout as loud as he could and scream in like anger. And I was like, this is great. Can we swear, by the way? Can we swear?
Go for it.
I was like, this is fucking great. I was like, this is awesome. I can just shout. So like all these emotions were coming out. So that for me was the first glimpse of, I quite enjoy doing this. This could be something I want to do more. But the singing side of things, I auditioned for straight acting schools like Lambda, Bristol Old Vic. Didn't do RADA in the end, but Birmingham School of Acting. Did those for 2-3 years, got on reserve lists, got on recalls, but never got anywhere. And then in my third year of auditioning, it's my very last audition. I was like, if I don't get this, that's it. I'm going to be a policeman. That's end of conversation. That's what I'm going to do.
What age were you then?
20.
20.
So I'd taken 2 years out. I was saying to audition, but I was lazy as hell. So lazy, mate. I didn't work. I didn't do anything. I was just like gamed. Which again actually helped me now. We'll get to that bit. But yeah, so I just chilled out, gaming, and auditioned a few times. But my very last audition was for a musical theatre course at Performance Preparation Academy. And my mate George, and I think my mate Bearpock at the time was going to audition there. But anyway, George was auditioning. He's like, mate, come to the musical theatre audition. And if he's listening right now, which he probably is, that impression is perfect. He's like, mate, come on to audition. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I'd had a year's worth of singing lessons at that point with a classical teacher. So I was okay, but I was still not great. I couldn't sing high. I could sing low, but no one wanted to hear a low singer at that point.
And this dude can sing low, like low.
And I could just about sing high. I mean, I've gone from like not being able to sing it to like just about. But yeah, so I did the performing arts audition, and they said, listen, you're a great actor. We'll give you that, Matt, but you're not great at singing, and you're not a dancer. So we're going to take a chance on you. And we're going to offer you the 3-year course. Are you up for it? And I was like, let me go and speak to my parents and whatnot. And I was like, screw it, let's do it. And then in terms of singing, I used to work on it every single day at home. Like I'd sing in the shower. I'd like really geeky stuff. I'm now a massive singing geek, but it was like working out how to do vibrato, how to use my mix, all those kind of like geeky things you need to know because I was so far behind. I had to try and catch up.
You keep talking to me about stuff like that, and I'm like, I wish I knew. And I was actually talking to my mum yesterday. It's one thing I wish I could sing. Wish I could sing or play an, I don't know what you call it, but an instrument that you can pick up easily. So not easily, a guitar and a piano that you can. There's a piano in the train station. You can play it. If you've got a guitar with you, you can pick it up. If you can sing, you can sing.
Yeah.
Whereas I can play the drums. No one wants to hear you play the drums randomly.
That's half the battle, though.
No one wants to hear you play the drums randomly.
I know you play the drums. I enjoy the drums.
And sing a ballad or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Or a love song. Yeah, and it's just not the same, is it? As a guitar and a piano. But singing, I try.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Shower stuff, but I think at my own concert I sound great, but
coming from someone who couldn't sing at all, it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Yeah, speaking to Josh, so Josh, who we all know, Matt is friends of Josh. Signed Josh. We've had him in the podcast studio, and he was also in the live show last year. They were mates. Josh said that to me. He said, like, you just got to find your tune, and then you can learn to sing from there.
Absolutely spot on.
So maybe I have to just come and join your academy.
That's it, mate. Yeah, great segue that.
It might stop me drinking.
Yeah, true.
I'll come and do that on a night time instead of sitting at home drinking. So you've performed. What have you been in since you've took that as a career path? Where have you been? What have you done?
I started off, I was very lucky. I was one of the first people in my year to get a job. So after I had one audition in my third year where this agent came in, and they were like, okay, everyone, we're going to teach you a dance routine. So you can just come into the middle, learn the routine. And like, okay, can you do a double pirouette on both sides? Which I could just about blag on a good day. Fucked it massively. Like both sides were terrible. Like I'd never had 3 years training. Anyway, he's like, listen, if you can't do a double pirouette, you're never going to work in this industry. that's in front of my whole year. So that in front of my whole year.
Do you
Anyway,
thought this is it?
I was like, well, that's it. I'm clearly not good enough. And then I was one of the first in my year to get a job. I was like, yeah, get in. So I went to Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't the best job in the world. It was Edinburgh Fringe, but yeah, yeah, exactly. But Edinburgh Fringe is Edinburgh Fringe. You know, like it was a good job.
These performance snugs. Oh, Edinburgh Fringe. I'd love to do Edinburgh
I
Fringe.
loved it. Don't get me wrong, mate. I was trying to put myself down.
You said only Edinburgh Fringe.
Because I didn't want to sound too cocky, like I've got a job straight away. Do you know what I mean? I was trying to put myself down.
Mate, this is the room where you can big yourself
No,
up.
I don't do that. That's not. I hate it. But as the chat will know, they're watching right now. My toes curl when I talk about myself.
This is the ego. This is where you can crest
Never.
your ego all you want in
Never.
here. Because I hate people who don't like stuff like that. When Josh come to the show, I don't keep talking about Josh because it's about you today, but he come to the show and I was like, dude, you're flying in from the Edinburgh Fringe and then doing my show a day later. That's like that's like cool to me. Like the comedians that I follow and everything, it's all about the Edinburgh Fringe. It's all about that festival. And you're flying a day later and you're performing at my show. I was like, that's incredible. Like,
I think it's weird that the culture of performing, you're told not to be like that. Particularly in the UK. In America, it's different. They're told to like be confident yourself. They love it. But if I on this podcast right now went, yeah, I was amazing. I got this job. Everyone listening would be like,
all your streamers that have you.
Yeah, I will get one. The chat would have my pants down, but they listen to go, oh, well, this guy thinks he's all right, doesn't he?
Yeah,
so you're conditioned to not be that way.
Yeah.
So like I have that, but yeah, not only Edinburgh Fringe. I was trying to put myself down, but yeah, cool. Edinburgh Fringe was my first job, and then I went to 12. I did 2 years, maybe 3 years, 2.5 years with the 12 tenors, which is we did a European tour. So we did Germany, Italy, Poland, and other places. A lot of Germany. So literally, the journeys were like that all over the place. That was a big learning curve for me because they actually hired me for being a bass. And I'm so used to, like, again, at drum school, it was like the tenors, here the high singers. They can all sing so well and all this. So I was like, I need to find my niche. I need to find what's me. I knew I could sing low, but I was like, well, it's very niche. People don't need it. Anyway.
It's like me playing the drums.
Yeah, exactly. Turns out people do need it, which is great. So they were like, we've not had a singer like you before. We'll take you on board immediately. And I did 2.5 years with them. Then I was part of the Gilbert and Sullivan Opera Company, which is really cool. Again, they needed a bass. That was rough for me mentally. That was hard because in the opera world, you're expected to know the score before you arrive, and in the musical theatre world, that's never a thing. That's never been a thing ever. You learn with the MD how they want you to sing it. But in the opera world, I had to learn 4 operettas in 3 weeks, and they're massive, humongous, big sings. So every night I was like learning the material for the next day. So day one, I was like, okay, well, I've got the score in front of me. We sung through the song by sight reading, which I'm better now, but at the time I wasn't a good sight reader. And they're like, right, let's put it on its feet. I was like, what do you mean put it on its feet? Like, fucking hell, just sat down, just had my coffee. Anyway, then they had to do the whole musical. So I'd spend every single night learning the next material and waking up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, learning the material for that day. And if they didn't do it chronologically, I was screwed. So I had that, and I was also covering a lead part in every one of the operettas. So I had to learn the cover for that. But that was incredibly stressful. I was in a bad place.
And is it very like, because you're expected to be able to do that, is it very go on then, get on there and do it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you just do it. There's no like, oh come on Matt, you've got this. No. You can, like you would have had on the stage where it's very like, oh, you're having a struggling or whatever else, you'd have people around you. Like it's very just you can't do it. You're no good for the job type thing.
Ooh, correct. Yeah. Because there is a stigma. People won't probably admit to this, and I'm not sure if I should be saying it or not, but there is a stigma in general in the opera world if musical theatre people come in, because opera singers generally train double the amount of time musical theatres train. They train for 6 years sometimes. Musical theatre singers 3, 4, maybe a push. So I went in as a musical theatre singer. There were a few in there, but there was already a vibe. I could already tell they were like, well, can he sing opera? Can he do operetta? Because they were like these amazing divas who'd done it for 40 years, Gilbert and Sullivan experts. So I came in like already on the back foot. And I had one solo line that I was about to sing, and luckily for me, the MD gave it to someone else. But before I even sung it, which was thank goodness, because it wouldn't be the right time. And I sung it in more of a legit kind of style rather than opera style. After hearing some of the voice in there, I'd have shown myself up. But it was weird. The MD himself was he was incredibly intimidating, like incredibly intimidating. There was a story where one of them, the opera divas, I say divas, that's just what they call them, but like respected women who'd done it for 40 years, she came in and she was having a really rough time because her mum was dying. So she was like, we didn't know this at the time, but she came in like crying and she couldn't sing her lament. And the MD was like, darling, why the fuck can't you sing this? Like going out, and she was like, can I just have a minute, please? And everyone in the room read the room. He didn't. He's like, no, come on, sing, like proper going at her. Yeah, and she was like, and she burst out crying, went outside. He went outside, he went, oh, for fuck's sake, and then walked out after her, and then found out that the mum's dying. Still, little sympathy. Went, well, Pauline needs a moment, so let's carry on, everyone. And we found out the reason later. But anyway, I was lucky that particular MD, I don't know if I said his name. Do I say his name? Good. Yeah. That particular MD was nice to me. He took me under his wing in a way, but I saw just how intimidating that person could be for people who didn't like. And I easily could have been that person.
And it's very like, you do need a bit of that. It's the same in sport. You need a bit of that tough love.
Yeah.
But like you say, read the room, give them a moment when they need it.
He had no ability.
I can imagine it's very old school. It's probably slowly starting to work its way out of.
I think, in particular in that world, in the opera world, it's very old school. Their mentality is very old school. It's very, it's just very, very old fashioned.
So you said you were having a tough time when you were there, but you also mentioned, let's circle back to when you were younger and you were not lost, but starting to, it was either the police or foreman. You said you were battling a lot of things, which is when you wanted to scream and get it out. Yeah. Do you mind me asking?
No, not at all, mate. No, I'm massively open with these kind of things. I think it's important if you can admit your story and like how you struggled. One person might go, "Oh, do you know what? I can't talk about that now." Or, so yeah, like I was pretty badly bullied from. I moved, just a little backtrack. I moved from Solihull to around here, but I went to a private school, so I was very, very.
God, that's so crazy. I was gonna ask you where you were from because you sound just like my cousin on the phone yesterday.
Really?
And we're all from Solihull. My mum's from Solihull. I'm not. My mum is, cousin, mum's sister, all that.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, you sound just like. If you'd have called up and said hi, Sam said his name, I'd have been like, yeah, cool, and just had a conversation with you about like, my cousin. So I was gonna ask, like, you actually from Rugby or not?
Yeah, no. So I was born in Solihull. Was there till I was 8. Then I moved to Crewe, and I had like a posh accent. And they like ripped shit out of me, but so I was like desperate for friends. Anyway, got to secondary school, and it just like every single day it would be a new thing. Just like there's this one story where they'd have like these were like my mates, by the way, who I thought were my mates at the time because they acted that way, and I was like, this is what friends do, haha, banter, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But they gave me a fruit shoot, and they were like, oh, Hobbsy, you got to try this new flavour of fruit shoot. I was like, I'm in with the boys. They want me to try this new thing. Yeah, you can face us all.
I know which way this is going.
Yeah, so they gave it to me, and I tried it, and I was sick everywhere outside. And yeah, it was just full of them like gobbing up and puddle water and everything like that. And that was the day I was like, this is shit. This is horrible. But that went on for 3 or 4 years, from 8 till 11. Then I moved to second school, and all those boys came with. So 11 to 14. And at that point, I was very lucky that I found my mate. Westy's probably watching now, actually. Westy was more of like a friend, and a guy called Alex Moore. They kind of like, I didn't take me under my wing because that's not how it was. Alex moved from another school to come over here, so he was kind of like not an outcast, but he was very new.
Yeah.
And he was into music, he was into heavy metal, and so was I. So I was like, oh, great, perfect. So we kind of got on with that.
So you just found your people.
Found my people.
The ones you were with before weren't.
No, not at all. They all looking back now, they all had their own problems, and I now recognise what those problems were. Like parents who didn't care about them, or other things that I won't go into. But I can now recognise that that's why they reacted the way they did.
Yeah.
But no, and then like my mate Rob, who was into football, he like, I don't think I've ever said this to Rob actually, so I hope he's watching. He like proper saved my head because my attendance was 85% in school because I used to pretend to my mum I had a bad stomach. But looking back now, knowing what I know is anxiety giving me a bad stomach. But yeah, he would like, because he was in sports and I was a big football fan, big Chelsea fan, and so he would like, we'd go to football together, we'd play cricket together, we'd do all these things. And even though it was very obvious that I was the kind of, because I had glasses, I had a quiff, I was the geek of the group, do you know what I mean? But if anyone tried to rip me, it wouldn't that like Rob would defend me. He's not that kind of guy, but he'd show everyone, because Rob was the popular one, he'd show everyone that like he's cool, he's fine, he's with me, like he's sound, he'd like have a laugh with me in front of the people. It's very clever. I don't know if he did it intentionally, but I thank him for that. I never actually said that to him. But yeah, so he kind of
big
like,
shout out to Rob and Westy.
Go on Westy, go on Westy lad. So yeah, it got to like 15, 16. Even though I'd found my people and I found music, I found bass guitar, I'd found heavy metal, all those kind of things, I still had all that pent up anxiety and emotion that I never got rid of. So yeah, hence why it came to doing acting and plays and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I can do it in a safe space. This is great. Just shout at people. But yeah, that's kind of where that originated from.
Amazing. So is that where, let's move on to your academy. You tried to segue me into it a second ago, but I had other stuff I wanted to talk to you about. Where your academy comes from, because your academy isn't just any ordinary theatre academy. It's way more than that. Yeah. So can you explain what it is and then explain why it is that?
Sure. Yeah, it's called Evolve Theatre Academy. We started it, me and my wife started it in January. It's a mental health inspired theatre academy. So we teach singing, acting, dancing. We want to teach instruments in the future, but as it stands, that's what we do. And we want to focus not on results that you can see on paper, but results you can see in the person. So you see someone who has improved. Like we have one girl who I won't name, obviously. She came over from somewhere else, and in 6 months, she's gone from a person who would sit in the corner and not speak to anyone to someone who's having private singing lessons with me, is having banter with her friends, and I see me in that child. Like I was that person. If I didn't think I fit in, I'd be really quiet. And then she's now the one in the group that has having a laugh and dancing in front of everyone, singing in front of everyone, which is massive. But the reason it's half that, half performance anxiety that ultimately got to me in the end, really. With the Gilbert and Sullivan stuff, that was quite bad for my head, and I felt that for a while. I didn't realise at the time. I felt it for a while. Then I got the next job, which is This Is Elvis, and I was playing, I was an actor muso, so I was playing bass guitar, but I was also performing and acting. But another MD who was a nice guy, but incredibly intimidating, and again, I was very lucky. He was nice to me, but I saw him be horrible to other people. I had 3 days to learn 30-odd songs, and because it's Bill Kenwright, and that's what Bill Kenwright's like. I don't mind saying that on recording. But yeah, everyone knows in the performing industry, Bill Kenwright gives you a day, if you're lucky. So I had 3 days one day to come in, watch, next day to perform to shadow backstage, third day to perform on stage. So I had that anxiety, and I'll go into, do you mind if I segue a little bit? Is that all right?
Go for it. We'll circle back,
just to like go on to the kind of open up about stuff and ultimately why Evolve was created for me. It got to halfway through the contract on This Is Elvis, and luckily I was with my now wife at the time, so she was like my rock, and I didn't tell her most of this at the time, but I got to stage halfway through the contract, and I rang the Samaritans, not because I was going to do anything ridiculously stupid, but I was like, what if I break my arm? I was like, what if I just, you know what I could do? I wouldn't have to play bass guitar anymore.
Okay, to get out of it.
Yeah.
What you could do to get out of it. Yeah. You weren't deep enough to leave the earth, but you were deep enough to go, I can't just say I'm leaving. You wanted to do something bad to leave. Because
I knew Bill Kenwright was my stepping stone. I was like, I'm in with Kenwright. If you're in with Kenwright, in for years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is my big break. I can start going in. So I was like, I can't be shown to be a weakness, which is like so important. Like now, showing that I can't see that as a weakness now, but at the time I was like, this is weak. So I was like, how do I break my arm? And I had that thought in my head. And I looked at, I was on my way back to my digs. I think it was in Leeds, and I saw like a little brick wall. I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll slam it on there. No one's seeing. And then I instantly went, what am I doing?
I can't do that.
I can't do that. So I ran the Samaritans. And I said, I opened up the call with saying, don't worry, I'm not in a place where I'm going to do anything that will make me leave this earth, but I'm in a bad place. This is what's happening. Do you mind if I talk to you? And they're like, absolutely. And they were amazing. Spoke to about half an hour. Anyway, got to that stage, and then I did. Luckily, I found Choir of Man, which is awesome.
Can I pin that there and
of
ask
course.
what performance anxiety is? Because like I'm thinking that you've got these mad MD, people are screaming at you, and you're being put down and just knocked down. So you're not wanting to perform, or you're thinking you're not good enough, or is it you're for some reason just scared to get on stage, even though you know you're good on stage? What is performance anxiety?
It's different for different people. Since I've done a lot of like I've done some counselling, I've done like helping other people with their issues and their needs for help. I've realised what my personal one is. But it can appear in different ways to different people. For me, it was all related to childhood stuff. I was scared to put myself out there at fear of being put down or ripped or just torn apart for doing something. So my child brain went, if you go and do that, it's danger. So my child brain saw like me not being good enough. So my brain went, oh, I'm not good enough to be friends with them because they're too cool. So adult brain went, you're not good enough to be on stage. Something bad's going to happen. So the anxiety part of my brain related that to that. And then funny that I mentioned actually the 3rd year audition where they're like, you can't do double pirouette, you're not good enough. Again, we're to that moment, you're not good enough. So strange. I know, for example, when I'm with you and we do the show, I have none because I know the environment and I know that why I'm there.
Yeah.
But if it was like, okay, tomorrow you're going to perform in Les Mis.
MD mean?
Sorry, musical director.
Cool.
Sorry, musical director.
I'm going to be the best musical director, so you'll be fine.
Oh, yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
nice.
Exactly, mate. Yeah. I'm at the stage now where I'll talk back to you.
Until you drop a bum note and I'll say, really?
Out, bye. See you later. But yeah, no, it's different situations cause different things, and I'm 99% better with it now, like way better since talking to someone. Like the woman that I spoke to for I think it's about 9 sessions in total across the 2 years. I did 6 in a row, and then I was like, can I just have you ad hoc? She's like, yeah, of course you can. And just working out why my brain does things, that's the way my brain works. It's helped me massively. So the only time I really get it now, like I didn't get any for this at all, whereas 3 years ago I would have been absolutely cacking myself and gone like, why am I here? I don't deserve to be here. My brain would have gone crazy. But now, because of the counselling, I don't have any of it. I was like, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Panic every time, even though it's my studio.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? It's mad how your brain takes over.
Sweating, I'm like, and I'm like, well, they're coming to my place. This is my place. And they're the ones that should be nervous, not me.
Yeah.
But I think I'm nervous to deliver. I'm
Sure.
nervous to deliver. Well, I'm inviting you here, so I've got to interview you well.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to kick off the show well. You're sitting there as soon as the intro finishes. What's Sam going to say that's going to be right? Or is he just going to be quiet? He can't be quiet.
Yeah.
But my head's doing that. It's going, well, what happens if he is quiet? What happens if he's not quiet? What happens if I'm not good at asking him questions? What happens if he doesn't talk back to me? What happens if the intro does finish and I go, welcome to the show, this is Matt. But that's what goes on in my head, even though I do it all the time, and I do it on stage like yourself.
And do you think that'll ever go?
I don't know. I'm thinking of coming to your academy, to be honest.
Mate.
You're getting me thinking.
Crack on, we do adult fire, you're in.
I don't think it will go because I think that's something for me, I tell myself I slightly always will have because I care. I care that this is good. I care that what you say gets across right, which is why I talk to you, which is why I like talking to people. If I'm not good, the conversation might not be good and you might not get how amazing your story already is, like only 20 minutes in. Get it across. So I think it's because I care. Same as going on stage, I care. I want everyone to have a great time in the audience. So I'm like, but then that forces me to then get rid of that slightly.
Yeah.
But also, like I said to you in the house, never been taught to go on stage, never been taught to. But something you've been saying, actually, I was going to say is I've never ever thought about it until you're explaining what your performance anxiety is. My life's been run completely different, but in exactly the same circumstances. Is I would fake how confident I was. So now I'm in a situation where I have to be confident. It gets me. So as a kid, I was the kid in the middle of the room making everyone laugh. I was funny. I would rip myself before you got a chance to bully me. If I was short and fat, I'd tell you I was short and fat. If for some reason I was sweaty and I stunk, I'll tell you I'm sweaty before you get a chance to. I was that loud kid, always making everyone laugh, always da-da-da-da-da-da. But then now when I have to for a job, it's very like, okay, am I good enough? Am I actually funny? Am I actually good on stage? Am I entertaining? Can I have a conversation? Can I make all these people get really excited for this next act? Like, can I warm them up well? So it's quite weird. You went the other way where you were quite reserved and away and then used it to come out. I feel like it has been quite fake confidence for many, many years.
It can be a good and a bad thing. Like my stage persona is a confident version of me. So I have to put character on still. I have to. But I think we've literally like come at it different ways and we kind of ended up in the same place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because for me, when I get on stage, so guys, if you don't know, there is someone else in the room. He's keeping an eye on the stream and everything else. But Kurt's a very, very close person in my performing life, and he'll say to me, "You were scared then because you're not yourself." So I have to go on stage and be myself, like I like interacting with the audience. Like if they're not loud enough, I'm like, I'm going home then. Whereas if I haven't done that and I've gone on stage and I've been like, hi, hello, yeah, cool, and he'll say like, dude, you just be yourself. You are you. That's why people book you to host. That's why people. It's not like a comedian going on and having to remember his material. I just go on and just get to be me.
Yeah.
So that's where I find it a struggle to not have a persona, to not be a character.
And this is why it works in different ways. And what I said earlier, like you said, what is performance anxiety? I was like, actually, it's very different for.
As soon as you said that and started describing it, I was just staring forward, listening to you, but going back round thinking, oh, actually,
Yeah.
that happened to me, but I wasn't quiet. I was loud, and I was bullied at school also. But for being confident, I think people tried to knock me down.
Sure, makes sense.
But it wasn't confident. It was fake confidence. Because then when, like I say, thrown into a situation, if I ever did get on stage at school, never any good. When I first started cheerleading, never any good. I would be hyperventilating backstage.
Really?
Everyone's like, Sam, you practice, you're so confident, you're such an idiot in front of everyone, you won't think twice about being an idiot in the club or wherever else. As soon as it mattered, and I was like, well, I need to perform very well now, I'll be hyperventilating, it'd be horrible, I wouldn't want to go on. And even into the latter end of my career, competing the world championships, you would not be standing next to me backstage. I'd be on my own. And as soon as we go out and we hit the floor, boom, high five and I'm fine. As soon as the music started, that was it. But getting me out there, running from my head every time, I'm going to leave. I can't do this. I'm going backwards. And I did the world championships 5 or 6 times in a row, and it's like, even that last time was still like, I can't do this. I can't. And until I'm out there and I'm stood there, it's like, well, you got to now.
Yeah.
You're in that situation where you got to. But yeah, it was quite nice to my own little bit of therapy for a second then.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's all about that.
So you had your struggles when you were younger, and then, so where that question was going before it went massively snowballed the opposite way, was what caused it while you were at the opera? Was it the pressure of them needing you to be good?
Yeah, for sure. I think the original fear, well, I think the lack of sleep is a huge factor. People don't really understand this, but lack of sleep can fuel these things. If there's a small little tiny anxiety niggle like in the corner, if you don't get enough sleep, it'll exacerbate, because you're in bed thinking at night about the worst things that can happen. You wake up. So I was getting 4 hours of sleep a night, if that, because I was getting and that was for 3 weeks in a row. And I always feel like with me, lack of preparation is the worst for my anxiety in the world. And I was never, that whole job, prepared, because I had covers to learn, but I was also learning the show at the same time, so I couldn't learn my main parts. And at any point on the day, they could have gone, right, Matt, you're on for Parrot King tonight. I wouldn't have known it. I categorically wouldn't have known it. And like the fear of that every day. And I eventually opened up to a couple of the lads who I got quite close to on the tour, who were like my age, but they'd done the company for years and years. They're like, boys, I don't know these parts. And one of the lads who'd done Parrot King before, he's like, mate, I'll do it for you, no problem at all. And it was really nice, actually. At the time, it was horrible, but Brendan, who was the guy who sung Parrot King, one of the best voices I've ever heard in my entire life, lovely guy. Matt, the other guy who I opened up to, he told Brendan about it, because Brendan's like, I've never been off. I've not been off in 20 years. So he never goes off. He's like, I've had a broken leg and I performed. I'm not going off. So like, I knew that part about him. He went up to me, Brendan, and he went, mate, I can't sing tonight. You have to go on. Like that. And I was like, yeah, that's fine, mate. No worries. Like shaking my boots. And there's Matt in the background going, like pointing that, we got that.
It's just done yet.
And then Brendan was pissing himself laughing, like, you bugger. But yeah, having that fear every single day for the tour was like 9 months. No, like probably 6 months. No less than that. But 6 months, it creates a long lasting effect. Because
I bet, yeah.
Once that's happened, it's part of your being and your persona, and yeah, that's where it originated from.
And also being away from home, people you don't know. If people then don't like you, friend circles you haven't got, some people just will happily go away and be in their own space. I cannot be on my own. And that's not being needy. I cannot be on my own. If I'm on my own too long, I'll FaceTime someone. Kurt knows that, because even if he's busy, I'm like, dude, talk to me for at least an hour.
Kurt,
we need to talk about something to do with the show or something.
Yeah.
I just can't be. I can't sit still. I can't. You know, these days it'd be given ADHD or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
But it's that need to, like the show itself, that was born out of just the need to do something in a dead space. So like, I bet being away, I've started doing a lot more hosting when I'm traveling. I can't afford to take people with me. I can't afford to take my wife with me. Kurt can't come with me. Like, friends can't come with me. So I'm on my own in a hotel, just doing the gig. And you go from that high of being on stage to then in your hotel room on your own.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, ooh. And I know a lot of famous comedians and singers talk about it. That's why singers will have big entourages, so they don't have that dip after. Because like comedians who everyone's screaming your name, you've got them in the palm of your hand for an hour, then you go back and sit at home or sit in a hotel on your own. They go to alcohol, drugs, because they just can't deal with that such a dip.
Absolutely.
And that's something I've had to start getting used to. So I can imagine yourself being away on a tour for so long.
Yeah.
also the pressure of not wanting to go on stage in the first place
hating it,
with
mate.
something that you love.
Yeah.
Must have been hard, really hard.
It's strange because how we're on the same place, but I was until...
Yeah, you're a professional, I'm not.
No. But as in performing wise, where anxiety's come. Like, until last year, I loved being on my own. Loved it. As soon as the show was over, I was the first in my bed because it's my safe space. As a kid, my bedroom was my safe space, so I knew no one could like bully me. No one could do that. So adult Matt has gone, that's your safe space. Don't worry. No, you're fine.
Yeah.
I'd play games. I'd put videos on. So that would be my safe space to go back to. And I until this last year, since I had the counselling, now I'm like, well, what can we do? Like, what work can I do? Because I'm so busy now.
Yeah.
That idea of being busy 3 years ago is my worst nightmare.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I hated being busy. I'd like, please just let me play COD for 12 hours, please. But now, like, I have no hours in a day. I'm working 12 hours a day most days now, which is crazy. And and younger Matt would be like, what are you doing, mate? But now I'm like, trust me, in a few years you'll get it.
So you go from that, and then you go straight into Elvis.
Yes.
You're now at this broken arm, wanting to break your own arm situation. And anybody, I know we can get deep into the stuff because I know people who are watching the stream, it's all about mental health. I know you are all about mental health. Your academy is about mental health. Your stream career is about mental health. We can get deep about it. No one should ever feel they're not good enough for the earth. Unless you are a cretin of a person and you've done some really nasty things, no one should ever have that feeling of they're not too good for the earth. So always speak to somebody.
100%.
And I'll let you know off air. That is something very close to me right now at the moment. So yeah, don't be such an idiot to think you're not good enough.
Nope.
For the earth. And even try and break your arm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But that's got to be severe, though.
Yeah.
You're wanting, it's self-harm.
It is.
Yes, it's not what everyone knows about, I cut myself. If you're trying to harm yourself to get out of a situation, it's got to be bad. Where from then, you smiled at me at the end of the last sentence when you were talking about that and said, I found the choir of man, which is what the choir of man does to you. It puts a massive smile on your face if you're watching it. And if I could sing, I'd probably try and be in it, to be honest. It's probably one thing I would love to do.
Yeah.
Carry on with that story then. You found the choir of man. And
it was, I'd done this as Elvis. I'm trying to remember correctly because my memory's absolutely terrible. But I'd done this as Elvis. I was living, and then I did, straight into Thursford, where I'd got with my wife the year before, so my girlfriend at the time. So now this is Elvis into Thursford again. We'd done the contract and we were going to move in together with Westy in London. I was already living there, but Claire was going to move in with us in this tiniest flat ever. And Westy went into the audition for Choir of Man, and he came back. I was like, mate, how was the audition? He's like, and I think I'm remembering this right. He rang me on the way back. I went, mate, this is great Westy impression. Mate, I was speaking to Nick, right, and they need a bass. And I was like, okay, do you want any more details? Nah, just come in tomorrow. So I was like, I came in tomorrow for the audition, and I didn't realise that Nick, my second ever audition was for the producer of Choir of Man in a group called the Magnets. So I auditioned for him at this crazy low bass. I've never seen an audition like it, like the lowest of low notes ever. But I was too young at the time. I was like, oh, this is it. This is a great audition, but I was too young for it. Anyway, he went, Matt, right? I went, yeah. And he's like, audition for you, the Magnets. I went, oh my gosh, yeah, you did. Anyway, audition. They were like, right, you've got it. Like that's it. It's happening. So did Rob, which is nice. So Rob and Westy are the same person. I didn't explain that. It depends what.
So now I sound really stupid.
No, you don't.
20 minutes ago, going big up Rob and Westy.
No, I subtly corrected you. I went, yeah,
good up Westy.
On Westy.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking, poor Rob. I'm only giving Rob the.
So you got George Napper and Westy.
Okay.
Two people.
Thanks for that.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. I didn't want to embarrass you too much. I thought I'd subtly get out there. But yes, I did a ship.
I'm just still sat here thinking, poor Rob, man. Only Westy got the
doesn't
big
say
up.
it,
But
doesn't
same person.
Depends what he's been on the day, if he's Rob or Westy. No, it depends on the group of friends, actually, what I call him. But so we did the ship for 6 months, and the rehearsal process was for 3 weeks in Tampa. And I went in knowing that I was a bass. So whenever I go into a job being a bass, my bass setting, my BASE setting is I'm here for a reason. I'm going to do all right. And then obviously when Elvis came along, and that I wasn't there to be a bass. So the other ones I'm like, I'm not good enough. But I'm like, this is the only thing I have confidence in. Do it right.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were lovely. The most the nicest rehearsal process I've ever had. So we had all the creatives there because we were the third version of the show, and the first one to go on the ship. The first one to a 6-month contract on the ship. So they're all really, really lovely, very, very nice and accommodating. And 2 weeks in, maybe a week in, the MD came up to me and said, "Listen, do you want to be the not musical director, the music captain of the show?" And that for me was huge because
What's that?
Music captain of the show, basically you look after all the harmonies. So when you're on the ship, if there's a harmony that's gone wrong, or there's like people aren't doing what Jack wants, Jack's the musical director, you're in charge of having a rehearsal and going, right, so this part's a bit off, try this. So I had an important role. So the show captain, music captain, now one of my best mates, Mathew, at the time didn't really know that well, was the show captain, I was music captain, and we were like combined perfectly. But I had that response of that kind of like justification for being there immediately.
Yeah.
So my brain went, oh, you're valued. So I had no anxiety from that point onwards. I was like, this is great. And I loved it. Did 6 months on the ship. That's where I found what anxiety was. That was why, because my mates, like Westy would go off of the ship, he'd like go to Bermuda. There was one point where I didn't leave the ship for 3 weeks. We'd port in all these beautiful places.
My worst nightmare.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You're saying like you can't. I just didn't want to see people. We only did 4 shows a week on 2 days. So apart from that, I was just lying in your cabin, playing games, watching TV. And yet I wouldn't get off the ship. And to me, I was like, that's just me. That's who I am. That's what I do. And Westy would subtly go, come on, mate. He wouldn't force it because he's amazing like that. Be like, well, we're going off the ship if you want it. And Danny and Matty, the two other lads who became my other 2 best mates, who were best men at my wedding, they came on. They're like, come on, mate. Like, wind me up a little bit. So I'd go, fine, okay, we'll go for a beer and we'll come off. But yeah, that situation.
You clicked.
I clicked.
Maybe there is something wrong.
With my mate Mikey, he said to me, oh, you're such an anxious soul, aren't you? I was like, what do you mean anxious soul? He's like, oh, you're all right, aren't you? They're like this, and this. And I was like, oh God. And a couple of years before that, I remember my friend Chris, who's definitely going to be in the stream, Corky, we had a gig together.
So that's not 2 different people, no? Chris
Sorry,
and Corky, no?
I swear it's the common theme for my friendship group. Corky's what his name's Chris.
Yeah, it's fine.
Second name, but yeah,
it's fine.
Corky, held on home in stream. Corky was talking about his struggles with anxiety, and he mentioned that, and I was like, mate, I hate to be that guy. He's like, me too, but I was like, that sounds exactly what I'm going through. And he's like, speak to someone. I didn't. And then go back forward to Quiet Man, and the brain went, oh yeah, that's maybe a thing. But yeah, the happy memories were like doing it with 3 of my best mates. So Westy, who I've had all through my school life, who now becomes a performer, and we performed together. And the first time we did a show together was on Quiet Man, so I was like, this is the dream. Danny and Matty, who I said now were like my best mates in the world, along with Westy and Napa, and like having that experience, I made friends for life, and I got my mojo back, and I got that's why I'm performing. I am good enough. I can do this. And then like I managed to do it in the West End, which was like a massive thing for me. And then yeah, at the end of that, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with it. I've got peace with it. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I've got peace with performing. I'm in a good place.
I can imagine a show like The Choir Man can do that to you though, because I can imagine it's hard work. On the actual night, it can be hard work, but once you've got it, is that physical wise though? Because you don't bloody stop.
Physically, I meant it because you're having to big people up and go for it and go to the audience, get people on stage.
Yeah. But I can imagine then once that becomes the new norm, it's quite fun.
Oh yeah,
and I can imagine. But you're doing your job and you're singing and you're entertaining. Like that's why I loved it. Like, I think audience interaction is amazing in a show. But something like that, I actually got to experience The Choir Man in 2 different ways. So we experienced it just after COVID. No audience interaction.
Oh God.
No, there was pints before, but they got brought out to you. But obviously, having someone in the cast, we got a lot more than anyone else. So I was probably hammered by the last number. That's why I was like, woo! Yeah. But then we got to experience it. I went back with my wife. So we went as a group to start off. Then me and Alex went back, my wife, on our own. And the audience interaction, so we got to experience, and the second time blew my mind. I loved it. The audience interaction bit, getting somebody on stage, singing to them, coming down into the audience, stopping because something's happened, so someone comes and steps down to the audience and says like that off
Josh
the
is
cuff,
a king at that.
The off the cuff stuff, just made the show 10 times better. And I can imagine, like I say, if I could sing, and that's what I would audition straight away for The Choir Man. I think it would be incredible. And I also love the just the idea around it, the arrangements of the songs and all that stuff. It's just Josh hates how I talk about it, but he's like, oh, I've done it for like 5 years. He's like, says that, but he's back in the West End doing it now. He soon jumps back on it.
Gives a contract.
Yeah.
I know you just. Don't worry about it.
That's what we all keep saying. Because he told me last time I spoke to him, he was like, I'm done, not traveling, gonna settle down a bit like you've done now. He's like, I'm done. Cool, Josh. I've got a show in September. Do you want to do it? Can't, mate. I'm traveling. What happened? What happened there?
Just one more.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know if we can talk about his new news yet.
We'll get
him back on his own. I'll talk to him before he goes because he's starting in the drum bit. So I'd like to get him back in and talk about the anxiety he gave me before the last show. But going from that, you've now found this happy place, and it's not. I'm glad that your story's not turned out to be like cliche. Like you've sat here and gone, oh, mental health, because I do believe it's amazing that we can now speak about it, and there's more about it. But I also believe that also breeds softer people, because you don't. Every situation is, it's mental health. I'm breaking down. Whereas back in the day, you go, cool, I can fix this, and then after a bit, you go, it's mental health.
Yeah.
But every situation now, I think, even the smallest of situations can be seen as, oh, you're struggling, it's anxiety, mental health. And I think that breeds people to then actually get mental health problems.
It's a really difficult balance, extremely difficult, because it's an amazing thing that has been brought to the limelight. But you're always going to get misdiagnosis, or you're always going to get someone who would fixate on that being a thing, which stops them from doing other things they would have done if they didn't have that. So I fully get what you're saying.
And a way out of like, oh, I'm struggling with work, mental health. No, it's not. Your job's just pretty hard, and it's a hard time right now. Maybe in a few months' time, it'll get easier. And it's not mental health. But if in a month's time it's not, and you're still having crazy thoughts, then but like it's not even like mental health can get to those negative thoughts that you're not good enough and all that stuff. Don't want to be in there, of hurting yourself, that type of thing. But it is literally like, my boss don't like me. Mental health. And then I think that then can spiral into mental health.
I think to go on from that as well, there's also there's people who will be at that stage.
And tell me I'm wrong if you want. That's great. It's a great conversation.
Not at all, mate. There's
you know more about it than I do.
Because I know people in that exact situation. You've got people who will be exactly what you're saying. They'll have their boss will be horrible to them, and they'll go, I need a mental health week. Right? But you've also got people who will not diagnose themselves enough. So they'll go, I've had a year where I've hated every day of work, and I hate my boss, I hate my colleagues for this. And they'll go, I'll be fine though. Do you know what I mean? They're like, it's not mental health, when it is. So you've got both ends of the spectrum where you're like, you've got to meet in the middle, but annoyingly, it's the people who need the help who won't say it's mental health. And it's the people who maybe would say it too early and say it's this that will say it's mental health.
Yeah, so I'll explain deeper to you, but literally it's happened to me 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And you'd never expected it.
Yeah.
And the ones that scream out that it's mental health and this is going to happen and blah, 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 they're not the ones that normally are going to go and take their life or hurt themselves. Yeah. It's the ones that go, I'm fine. I'll be all right. They're the ones that end up going, nah, I'm done. Have a bit too much to drink or whatever and go, you know what? I've had enough.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And it's like I say, it's one of those you don't expect it.
No.
Whereas the ones, which what I'm trying to say is like, it's that person was a bit like too old school. Where like, I'll keep it to myself. I'm a man.
Yeah.
I don't need to tell no one about it.
Yeah.
Whereas you need to meet in that middle of not being too soft to go, I broke a nail today. I think I'm depressed because of it. Yeah. That was a bit extreme, but I think we've created soft people by creating that we can talk about it more. Because the more stubborn people will still keep it stubborn, like said person.
Yeah. It's very, very hard to keep that balance because, as you said, the people who don't think they need help.
Yeah.
And the people who say maybe I need help because of this, they might actually not need help. They just might need to try it again.
Yeah, and I've talked about it a lot on this podcast. COVID got me massively. I don't like saying the word because I found great friends from it, like Josh. I wouldn't have met you either without, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that COVID area of me having to get another job was the best thing that's not ever happened to me, but one of the greatest misdirections in life ever, because the people I've met through it, friends I've got for life now, family, I could call some of them, and like I say, they're meeting you down the line. But I had a breakdown during that because I was being this tough, just lost all of my career, everything I was doing, Never know it's going to come back. I'm now working in a warehouse, which I always said I would never ever do. I'd never wanted to work for anybody. If I did work for someone, it'd be doing 100% what I want to do, like I'm doing now. I was self-employed, lost all my business, everything. I'd lived in America for 10 months to secure this business, and then like 6 months later, it's gone. I'd gone through I'm not getting a job. Gonna live off my savings. Yeah, I could do this. That all went cool. Need to get a job now. Mrs. Like, you need to get a job. Got a job, working in a warehouse, nights. That's my worst. Like, I was at a low, and I was fine. And then it took for me and Alex to have an argument, and I just broke down. I'm not okay. Why? Because I've said, lost my career. When's it coming back? Everything I've worked for the fast 6-7 years is gone, and I'm doing something I don't want to do. Am I going to be stuck doing this warehouse job forever? And just broke down, cried, everything else. Went off to work and was fine. Just needed me to say it.
I think a counterpoint to what you said earlier, if you were less stubborn and less like, I'm fine about it, you might not have had that breakdown in the first place. And you might have opened up at that point a bit earlier on.
Yeah. But I am someone who thinks you got to try and fix it yourself first.
For sure. Oh, for sure, mate. For sure. I think there's an element of that, definitely.
And I'm a very emotional person anyway. I'll cry at anything, happy and sad.
Yeah, same here, mate. As the people who watch right now, the amount of times I cried on stream is just disgusting.
I walked around the venue the other week because the event we've just put on was in 5 arenas, and I walked around. We hadn't even started setting it up, and all I'm doing is setting it up, putting stage and lights in, and I started crying like, we're about to do this.
It's awesome.
Like, this is incredible.
It's awesome. So
but then also sad stuff. I'll cry about sad stuff.
Yeah.
But when I feel like I've got to keep it in, I'll keep it in. But yeah, it was very nice to do that. Yeah. And that's when, like, I'm never one of these people who are going, you need to talk to someone when I've never done it myself. Well, now I have done it myself, and I felt the weight it lifted and where it went, just saying how I feel. So then she knew, okay, cool, he's not actually happy. I'll then maybe be a bit nicer around this part of it, or stop telling them that we need to just keep bringing money in. Yeah. Like, I'll let him know that he's actually not happy because this is not where he wants to be. And yeah, it went from there. But like I say, if I'd actually looked back and gone the people I've met from it, I probably wouldn't have been down and depressed anyway. Well, I wasn't depressed, but I wouldn't have been down and so angry about going to work because I got to go to work with Josh and Chris and Adam and Reese and people like that, which the shift was amazing compared to those people that knew they were going to be stuck there for the next 30 years that didn't want to be there. And like I say, the best things come out of it. Cause, say, meeting people like yourself, and it was one of the best missed redirections.
I was exactly the same, mate. I always feel really guilty in saying that COVID was one of the best things to happen to me, because it's a incredibly loaded statement, because so many people have had horrible things, including myself, like happen to their families and stuff. But that period of time wouldn't have brought me the Theatre Academy, and it wouldn't have brought me my streaming stuff. It just wouldn't.
I wouldn't have the job I've got now.
No, exactly, mate. So it's like, people understand it when you say it, but you have to be so careful how you say it, because you don't want to be insensitive to people's experiences. But in terms of my very selfish point of view, it was incredibly life-changing for me. Yeah.
So then going from that, you said, choir man, you're done. Acting, performing, done. Even though I'm getting you back on stage. Perfect.
Yeah, those are perfect. Those one-off gigs, mate, love them.
What you went then into, let's start with where you went after that.
Yeah.
You keep mentioning gaming throughout the whole of it. So perfect time to plug Flux Gaming. Massive sponsor of the podcast. Perfect hydration. Check their products out. No crash. That's my main thing with that product. You don't get a crash after. It's not like, I need now more, or I need now more of this. They've just bought out their slush puppy flavour, which is incredible.
I'll definitely be trying it.
But you can have them before we go. You can have a tub, mate. I've got enough of them. They're not empty either.
All about red cherry.
Yeah, man. And they're full of electrolytes, vitamins, which I think is great. Like the normal is just, here's all your caffeine and a bit more sugar. They've got minimal sugar in them. I don't think hardly any sugar in them. No sugar, Kurt?
Zero sugar.
Yeah.
Zero sugar.
There you go. Boom. Matt's better than me at it. Zero sugar, which I think, same again, incredible that you can put vitamins, minerals all in one thing without the. I think what they've created is incredible. So yeah, check them out. So you went from performing to then pursuing another passion of yours, which was gaming. Yeah. And you've now created and done what?
I mean, how do I even describe it? It's gone absolutely mental. So obviously March 2020 happened. I when I was 16, 15, 16, for a week, this is my plug. For a week, I was number 1 in the world at domination in Call of Duty. So like the only public games. I now know that public games aren't the be all and end all, but it's still impressive. I was number 1 for a whole week at domination. So I at that point I knew I was good comparatively to other people. So I used to play like private games, like game battle stuff, but nothing crazy like LAN tournaments. But now going back to when I was 30, I think, 29. It was during March 2020. I was like, well, I'm clearly going to be great now. I'm clearly going to be amazing at COD now. So I'll just stream it and people are going to come for my own real gameplay. Learned very quickly that people have moved on and people have got way better than they used to be. So I started playing Warzone. Just
getting killed.
Yeah. I started playing Warzone like 99% of the population did during lockdown. So I had friends who I'd not spoken to in ages playing games, and like friends of friends coming into a community. So an accidental community was created called Gamers Gather, a little messenger group that came in, and I've actually been responsible for inviting a load of people that I only know through one-offs, like Corky's one of them. I saw him doing a charity stream, and during lockdown I was like, hey, do you want to play with some of us boys? He's like, yeah, great. And now he's like a massive part of and everyone gets on with him, and like 2 friends have met up, like Beckers, who's one of my mods. I knew him from gaming when I was 15, 16. We had each other on Facebook at that time because you don't think about adding, strangers. Yeah, you're a stranger, Beck, as you heard. And so
you gamers are all weird. Like I know friends and family who will go and meet up.
Yeah,
with people they've never met before.
Oh, yeah.
What like you did today into the studio actually.
Yeah,
I'm
just like this.
Well, yeah,
you're officially a winner now. But yeah, so I got him in the group and he joined in, so he's now an integral part of the group and plays with all the boys that I know from real life. But yeah, so then I started streaming from my laptop. I'll show you after the podcast what the setup used to look like. There's a laptop on my piano stool on my 60-inch monitor facing upwards like this. It was the worst quality stream you've ever seen. I turned the brightness up to full. It was like barely 720. It was just vile. The sound was off because I didn't have a microphone. I used the webcam mic. So I did that for a little bit and I met a few people through that, and I was like, oh, this is quite fun actually. Became affiliate, started earning a bit of money from it. I was like, you can earn money from gaming. What on earth is this? So then I realised I wasn't good enough to be like a professional gamer streamer. What are my other passions? And organically, I enjoyed the interaction of speaking about people's mental health and like, how are you today, mate? I actually cared. Like randomers who came to my stream, I'd want to know about them. I'd want to know how their head is and stuff. And at that point, I hadn't done my counselling yet. I don't think. I'm trying to remember the timeline. I don't think I had, because it was... Okay, I'm going to go with I don't think I had, because it would make sense that I didn't have the social anxiety through the screen. Because a lot of my anxiety came from reading people's reactions to things, because I'm quite a good reader of people. That's one thing I'm ever quite complimentary about myself, is I can read people really well. So I used to read people's reactions when I spoke to them. Now with the gaming stuff, if they're on a chat, you don't see their face. No. So no anxiety at all. So I was like, great. And I've got to know people. It expanded. I now do it full time. I do it 5 days. Well, at the moment, I've done 11 days in a row, including today. But I moved over to a new platform.
Slowly heading into that metaverse, aren't we? Where people don't leave their houses.
Well, that'll be great. Yeah, that'll be my dream, mate. That'll be 29-year-old Matt's dream, not 32.
Not for me. I need interaction, man. I need people interaction.
It's interaction. It's okay online.
No, it's not real. It's not. You're not there. I can't touch you.
But yeah, so I started on Twitch. Then I got headhunted by Facebook. So I was Facebook partner for 9 months with the chat calls at the dark days. Because they weren't good. The interface on Facebook is just terrible, and they're dying out now. So that shows a lot. I'm also paranoid that Kurt's probably looking at the chat right now and seeing all the comments from the chat, which they're not PC. Let's just say that. They're probably ripping me to shreds right now. But I'm so glad I can't see it.
That's not good for his mental health, guys.
Yeah, you heard.
He's helping you all the time. What's going on here?
Yeah, that. But no. So then I moved back to Twitch. Then Kick. So Kick came out. Well, I started streaming on Kick 3 months ago. It's been life-changing because now the creator gets 95% of everything they earn on Kick. So I can actually justifiably... My wife's been a dream. She's never once said, don't stream today. She'd go, yeah, of course you can. So 95% of the money now goes towards the creator. So now I can justifiably go without feeling an overwhelming sense of guilt for streaming and days I'm playing games. I can do that full time now.
Yeah,
I can do that, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times,
and help people at the same time.
And help people at the same time, exactly. And it's
that's such a niche, and I think it's really cool that you can put you, and like you say, talking, like something I just clicked 20 minutes ago when you were talking, it can help you out as well.
Big time, it has helped me out.
You're talking to other people, but you're helping them, but then can help you out.
I don't think I'd be able to do this without the stream, for sure. And other things like speaking on the academy and speaking to parents, I wouldn't be able to do.
It's just insane that you've got on stage in front of thousands of people.
So different part of my brain. So strange, mate. Different part of my brain.
A lot of people say that though, like performers can perform, but they can't have a conversation with someone, which is just insane.
Exactly that. I used to stutter a lot, and I used to speak really quickly, and I used to think, oh, it's because I'm not funny. It's because no one likes what I've got to say. But it's because I spoke so fast and stuttered everywhere that people didn't understand me.
That was the best bit of information I ever got from someone, Greg. I used to go on stage so scared and panicked with what I'd already got scripted in my head, and then go, and then if I forgot something, it would be so obvious because I just stop.
Yeah.
He said, Sam, just saunter on there, slowly say what you're saying. You'll keep your own heartbeat down, but also if you panic and you forget what you're saying, you have the time to naturally think of something else to say, and it's not obvious because you've gone so slow in what you're saying. Just take your time. Like, I'd go on there and I'd be like, yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the event. I'd forget about the event name. What about this event? Because it's on a wall behind me.
Yeah.
And it'd be so obvious. Whereas the times I've done it when I've been a bit slower, I've been like, yo, what's up, guys? I'm your host. And oh, what's the event name? And I'd slowly talk and I'd turn around, look at it, and then say the event name. But it also kept my scared and my anxiety and how nervous and scared I was. It kept it down because I was naturally being slower, not being like full on into it.
Completely agree, mate.
Best bit of advice I'd ever had from someone.
I wish I'd known that before as well. Because speaking in front of parents, I would actively, because as you probably heard, I'm a quick speaker. So in front of parents, I literally do exactly what you said. And I read 50%. It's like I'm on 0.5, on a voice note. It's like I'm on half speed. Because I find it exactly that. My brain goes, you're saying correct things. You're saying it clearly. People don't understand what you're saying. And suddenly I'm like, oh, people actually do want to hear what I want to say. No, it's just because they can understand you, mate. Like that's the reason. But yeah, the streaming stuff has changed my life. Absolutely changed my life.
Well done, guys.
Yeah. The chat occasionally get an overall nice thing from me because they spend most of the time ripping me. But
well done, guys.
Yeah, absolutely 100% changed my life.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just that's a perfect end to finish it on, because from where you've come from not knowing where you're going to find out where you're going, from where you were going, actually fixing and helping you with your own life, like coming out the choir man and going, you know what, that's exactly what I wanted from performing, exactly what I needed, and I'm going to leave it there. But then to jump back onto what you're doing now, and you are still performing bit for bit, but you're now helping other people that were struggling like you did. And I think that's such a cool thing to be able to say you've done. And it's not like you've not been just one of these people who I'm going to be a mental health coach. You've gone through things and you've gone through it to then do what you're doing and get your passion for gaming. I can't ever see it myself. I can't stand gaming.
Really?
I used to get so angry with them. I'm at the same level as fishing. I had to go at fishing once. The fishing rod broke within like the first 5 minutes, and I was like, "Where am I going? I'm going home." And then I left my mates. And gaming, I get annoyed with it. Probably because I can't do it and I can't sit still. So the thought of sitting still to play a game that I'm getting angry with playing, like, just
sure.
It sets anxiety up in my head.
Oh,
but for you to do that and then help all these people, what, 500 and something?
I can't.
How many away from having a tattoo?
Why would you say that? Why on earth? Why on earth would you say that?
Why did you tell me?
I didn't think we mentioned on.
How many?
Think, off the top of my head, 70. So we won 552 before, and it's 629 is the record, so 630. So 78 is that?
And how long have they got? They got a certain time to do it in?
Tomorrow, yeah. So it's monthly subs.
So get your friends in, send it out, share it. They can unsubscribe after.
Yeah, get the refund afterwards. Yeah.
Let's get this tattoo.
I remember that, Sam.
But before you go, I have this little book that I ask all my guests. The one question is one thing. You can take your time. One thing to what's the key to why you are where you are today. Now, I say success sometimes because I see what you've done and where you are at and what you've gone through is successful. Me, I'm not famous. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not anyone else, but I see where I'm at and what I'm doing, enjoying life is successful. But I want one thing. Now, that could be one turning point, one thing that was said to you, one thing that you've done or someone else has done for you. But just that one key you think is to the reason to where you are in this very moment.
Is it going to be a sentence?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can write a whole paragraph if you want.
Do we say it out loud or do you want me to just write it down?
Yeah. Say it out loud if you want.
All right.
On that page for
Thanks,
me.
mate.
Date it and sign it as well for me.
All right. My handwriting is atrocious. I forget, like, you have to write things down with a pen.
Yep, that's that, because you're stuck in that stream 10 hours a day. Look, you're losing
it.
those, is it cognitive, I can't even say the word.
Cognitive.
There we go. Functions. It's the same when text language first came about, and then you couldn't text then. You ended up like, they actually did a study, didn't they? Text language was forcing people not to be able to spell properly.
Looks like a 4-year-old's written it. Hang on.
Ah, that's alright, my writing's worse than that.
Sign it, yeah?
Yeah, sign it.
Oh, Pro Bear or Matt? That's the question. I haven't got a signature for Pro Bear.
Just do Matt. Matt Hobbs.
Matt Hobbs.
Depends if you're going to be famous as Pro Bear and when the book goes and I sell it in 10 years' time. Perfect. Read it out then. What?
Making other people happy makes you happy.
Love that.
That's what's kind of I've found out from my life, that's what I need to keep my soul going and keep me happy, is that if I can help other people, it makes me happy.
Yeah, and the reason why I do this podcast is to talk, because that's just, we were going to sign off then, but that sparks something in my mind. People have lost that. No one does anything for anyone for nothing anymore. Everyone always does something for something. It's never, can you come and help me? Well, what am I going to get for it? It's never, can you come and do this? Well, how much am I going to get paid for it? What do I get in return? No one ever does favours. And I'm a person who, yes, in my professional life, if you're asking me to come and do something professional for you and you're making money out of it, then I'm going to say, help me out a little bit.
Of course.
But when a friend says, can you come and do this? Can you come and do that? I'm the first one there. And I like to think that I will help anybody out and do anything for anyone. But I think the way the world is at the moment, people have lost that, because that comes under that bracket of, can you come and help me? Yeah, because that'll make me happy type thing. So doing a favour for someone and not asking for nothing in return is incredible. So that's amazing. Making other people happy to make yourself happy.
It makes you happy, yeah. Just because, I mean, sorry, I know you're going to sign off. There is an element of selfishness to it because I get a lot out of it. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
there is an element of like, this is soul food for me. So like, if I making someone else happy, like if I've taught someone like off stream and helped them out, they're gone, mate, you've actually helped me so happy. Hence why whenever they talk about something that if I've helped them with their lives, I break down. Like, I'm like crying immediately. Then you know who you are. So yeah, like same. But it makes
you happy.
It does.
Yeah.
It's like a great cycle.
Yeah. When you say some things, I'm always someone who I'll let wear my heart on my sleeve and I'll tell you what I think. If I see something, I won't hold back. I'll tell you if I'll see it. And when people then come back to you and say, I'm so glad you said that to me. I'm so glad you noticed that, because I hadn't noticed it. Yeah, you say it's that because you're like, yeah, I noticed that. But that's free. Mm-hmm. You feel good for free. They feel good for free. Yeah. It's not this whole cash society of you have to do this for this, or I'm going to hold that on you. And when I get stuck somewhere the other side of the world, you're going to have to come and get me because you've helped me once before. No. It's a very nice thing to know that you treasure as a positive for yourself. Yeah. Do you want to sign off to your so people listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, we've actually been streaming it to Matt's streaming subscription service as well. So Matt's going to sign off first, however you would normally sign off, and then I'll sign off. So you sign off to your guys, and then
I'll be on in 3 hours because you guys have peer pressured me into streaming after this because they said we're getting you the tattoo. So what time is it now?
It is 1:30.
1:30, right? I'll be on about 3:30.
Oh, they get a lot of you, don't they? I might subscribe.
Right. I got proper peer pressured.
I might subscribe.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, by the way, you don't have to subscribe. It's a like they just doing it to get a tattoo. It's free to watch. You can watch it for free as long as you want. There's no pay to watch.
Oh, okay.
But people, if they want to sub, they can.
Oh, perfect. So
someone right now is going to type in !P2P. I guarantee you. Carry on. Sorry, mate.
It's too late for me because this episode won't go out now for another couple of days. So you'll be done by then. So you have no panic of my people going, let's get him.
That's true. Love that. Love that.
Because my people probably would go, let's get him. So yeah, thank you guys for another amazing episode. I hope this helps like everything, all my episodes, as long as one person is watching or one person is listening, I will keep doing this and I will keep spending money. So if what Matt said today has helped one person, then I am happy. We are doing the mission I set out to do is to do, and I enjoy the conversation, so I don't care if no one watches. But as long as one person is always watching or listening, I will keep being these. I've been your host, Sam Thompson.
I've been Matt.
And yeah, I'll see you on the next episode, guys. Peace.